Okay, so I think it'd only be appropriate if I start off this video saying I love Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Alright, so after my first impressions video, I finished the anime, and I'm currently caught up, but this is going to be a review of the entire anime and the Shimon Arc. As I've said in the past, the anime definitely could use a little fine-tuning as far as the daily life arc. As a whole, the anime definitely is awesome. It's, you know, one of my all-time favorite ongoing shonens, is definitely up there in my opinion. And I think that even the daily life arc, to an extent, you could definitely enjoy it and look back on it as well and say, oh wow, you know, you kind of need those peaceful times, because eventually Suna's life gets really hectic and crazy. Now, the second arc, the Katekyo arc, was definitely where the series starts getting a really dark tone, and it definitely starts getting serious and turning into a more, I guess you would say, typical shonen, but definitely in its own right, because this is where Suna starts to learn a little bit more, where he starts getting in battle and, you know, just learning more about the mafia and the underworld that he's about to ultimately embark on. In my opinion, the Katekyo arc definitely was important because it introduced a couple of characters that become very prevalent throughout the series, and I'm talking about Rokudo Mukudo and his two lackeys, I guess, or his two, you know, followers. And there's definitely a very important arc for that, introducing those characters, and that's really what it served for the most part, in my opinion. It served to kind of show the beginnings of Suna and how he first starts getting stronger, at the same time introducing some important characters. Now, after that arc, there's the Warrior arc, and the Warrior arc, in my opinion, was definitely one of the best ones. It was really interesting. It was one of the ones, again, where Suna evolved even more, and that's one of the things about the anime and the series in general, is that Suna, he evolves very quickly. And, you know, in the beginning of the Warrior arc, you can kind of tell that Suna definitely stood no chance against, like, Zanzus, and he was definitely outclassed, but Suna always, like, overcomes stuff and definitely gets these power-ups when he's not really, like, stronger than the person. And I guess it's just really one of the typical shonen things where, you know, I'm gonna get stronger for my friends, but it's ultimately done in its own little way, and it's really nice to see. And it's also nice to see that everything ties into the whole Vongola thing, and the whole Warrior arc, in my opinion, was definitely like an internal struggle, in my opinion, as opposed to the previous one, Katekyo, where it was kind of just like some random guys that Suna had to deal with that, you know, wanted to take over and whatnot. And the Warrior arc, in my opinion, definitely also showcased all the characters, developing all of them, and that's what I think that Reborn does very well as well, is that it develops all the characters that are supposed to be developed, like, you know, Suna, Yamamoto, Gokudera, you know, all of the Vongolas, you know, all of his entrusted people. And as well as the Warrior arc also introduces Chrome, which is definitely another key player in this. And the Chrome character overall, I enjoy her. I wish she would have a little bit more connection with, I guess, the Guardians and less with the girls, but at the same time, it's still nice to see that she's girly and whatnot. And in the Warrior arc, I definitely say that one of my favorite moments and one of the best things for me was seeing 20 years future Lambo. And one of the things that people don't realize is that the author was so, I guess, good at this, because not many people caught it, that when Lambo from 20 years in the future shows up, he kind of says something that foreshadows the following arc, the future arc. He kind of says something like, oh wow, familiar faces, never thought I'd see you guys again. And it definitely foreshadows stuff to come in the next arc, the future arc. Now, the future arc, in my opinion, was definitely a little bit longer than it needed to be, actually quite a lot longer. I believe in the manga it lasted like 150 chapters, and in the anime it lasts literally from like episode 74 throughout the entire thing. It is divided by sub-arcs, and there's actually 2 filler arcs in it, but I definitely say that it could have been a lot shorter. The anime drifted off a little bit than what the manga did, but the future arc, in my opinion, was incredible. And I kind of wish that towards the end of the series this would have been held, even though later on I start to notice that the writer is wrapping it around so that you kind of don't feel like it. But I kind of wish the future arc was like one of the last arcs in the series, that way learning more about the characters and how they'll sort of become in the future, because definitely things change after the events of the future arc. But it was really interesting. It introduced a lot of new characters like Spana, Shoichi, Byakuran, a lot of different things. Some of my favorite moments from the future arc was definitely the Choices arc, where, you know, it's like an arc within the arc, and that was really awesome. Also, I really enjoyed seeing future Mukuro versus Byakuran. We didn't really get to see it, but just seeing his staff broken there and everything, it really got me excited. And I was really interested in all the future arc characters, like, you know, the future versions of them. I wish they showed them a little bit more, and I really wish they showed Suna in the future, but I guess they gotta leave something, you know, out so you can kind of be like, oh man, I would love to see more of that someday. And overall, the future arc, in my opinion, was definitely handled nicely. Like I said, could have been a little bit shorter, but it was definitely an enjoyable arc, and something I really enjoyed seeing, to be honest with you. And overall, it was really good. And one of the things about the Hitman Reborn anime I want to note as well, as far as animation, is outside of some of the daily life arc episodes, the anime as a whole has some of the best animation for a long-running shonen I've seen. I mean, throughout the entire anime, I kept thinking to myself, wow, like, this is a 203 episode anime, and nearly every episode is animated beautifully. Never a moment where I'm like, oh, why does it look like that? It's always done very nicely and beautifully, especially the important battles and scenes, which is what separates itself from some of the other animes, where, like, a lot of animes that are long-running shonens, they'll kind of have, like, episodes that are a little wonky in here, and for the most part, Reborn doesn't have any of that. Also, in the whole Reborn series as well, enjoy really Reborn, and especially in the anime. I think he's funny at the same time, like, he's very serious, and he's an incredible tutor. And one of the things about him that is great is him being a tutor, because he takes it very seriously, and that's one of his ultimate goals in the entire story, is, you know, being a tutor. And the future arc as a whole, in my opinion, was definitely, again, one of the better arcs in the entire series. It could have been shorter, but it was definitely awesome. And once again, it helped to develop Suna and the other characters a lot extensively. Now, the filler in this anime, a lot of people wonder, hey, you know, what's going on with the filler? We already got the daily life arc, which a lot of people don't enjoy too much. The two filler arcs in here, obviously you could skip them if you want, but I think that they're some of the best fillers in anime. I wish more animes that are long running had fillers like that, because it almost seems as though the writer of Hitman Reborn was, like, I guess, connected in the creation of that, because definitely the filler was really good and enjoyable, and I thought it was, like, good filler overall. It wasn't really, like, stuff that you'll be like, oh, it kind of connects with the story. And even future arcs later kind of, like, showcase some of the stuff that was talked about in those arcs. I believe one of them was the Arco trials, and the second arc was the Inheritance Succession, where they kind of had to take tests with the first Mongola Guardians, and that was very interesting as well. Now, the Shimon Arc, which is manga only, it hasn't been animated, and there's no plans as of yet for that. It was a very interesting arc, and it was like, okay, you know, after the future arc, this long arc, let's see what she got, you know, the writer. And it was really interesting to see where she took it. And, you know, it kind of went really interesting, because the whole time we're thinking that there's just going to be this big brawl between the Shimon family and the Mongola Guardians. And it kind of went that way, but then at the same time, towards the end of it, it just changes completely. And a villain you did not expect just becomes, like, the ultimate villain. And it's Damon Spade, the original first Guardian that was, you know, the one that Mukuro plays. And I thought it was really interesting to see it completely change. I thought it was awesome. And it kind of, again, ties into that filler that they referenced very back in, you know, the actual anime, and that's what led me to believe that the writer was, like, you know, involved in the creation of that filler. And overall, the Shimon arc was very solid. It didn't feel like, you know, after the anime the manga fell off. If anything, it was very enjoyable, a lot better than probably even some of the earlier arcs, in my opinion. And overall, the Shimon arc is good. Probably could have been changed a little bit here or there. I was glad that later on, I won't spoil any further, but the Shimon family and Suna become, like, friends, because I always thought that Suna would be awesome if he had, like, another actual friend that was on his level, as far as, like, you know, being scared of everything. And overall, the Reborn series, as I'm caught up to date right now, it's an amazing series. I love it. The anime, I highly recommend it. If you enjoy Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, any of those shonens, then you would definitely enjoy Hitman Reborn as well, because it is something awesome. Can't recommend it enough. It's definitely enjoyable, and it's a really good long-running shonen, in my opinion. And the Shimon arc as well is a really good, you know, after arc of this, like, long arc, and then you get this nice little arc where it's really enjoyable. If you've seen Hitman Reborn, let me know what you thought of it. The anime, do you agree that the animation is solid for the most part? And what do you think about the Shimon arc? You know, it never really gets mentioned, because a lot of fans, like, kind of stop watching Reborn after the anime, but the Shimon arc is a solid arc as well. It introduces characters like the Shimon family, Enma, and, you know, a couple different things, surprises get introduced as well, and it's, you know, a really enjoyable arc. But what did you think of it? And your overall thoughts of Reborn up to date? Do you think that it's a solid shonen and deserves more praise, and, you know, kind of is just really up there? Let me know in the comment section below, or with a video response, give me your thoughts on Katekyo Hitman Reborn. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up for Hitman Reborn, the anime. Hopefully we get more of it someday. I'm ForneverWorld. As always, have an awesome day, and make sure to watch my next video like your life depends on it.
Katekyo Hitman Reborn.